Hey YouTubers, Glenda here. I want to share with y'all something that the Lord has put on my heart for about a week now, that I've been spending more time with Him, and I just haven't taken time to make this video. I want to talk about obeying when the Lord speaks to you to do something. When He really moves on your heart to do something, obeying and obeying immediately. Because that is going to become more and more important as days go by. That we seek Him on everything, and that we obey exactly and immediately whatever He tells us to do. If we don't, He's not going to be able to protect us as we move further and further into the end times. If you've been walking with Him for very long, you probably already know that it's obedience that brings the radical blessing level that everyone seeks and wants to see in their lives. We all want to be able to pray and then just see it, the answer manifest just like that. And the Lord wants us to see that too. So if you want to reap that kind of blessing in your life, you need to sow. Every time God tells you, you need to obey and sow into that obedience like that. Years ago, when the Lord first called me to Dallas, it was the fall of 1998, and I didn't know He was calling me to Dallas. All my stuff was in 2 storage stalls in Oklahoma, and I thought I was coming to visit my dad. And I stayed with my dad a little while, and I thought the Lord was going to put me back to work in oil and gas, which He had pulled me out of 6 months prior to that. And I had no idea that had collapsed because I was out of touch with everybody, but it turned out that He wasn't going to put me back in oil and gas, and I got a job making less than $10 an hour and was working in Dallas. So I started staying in extended stay motels closer to my job. And eventually I figured out that He was going to leave me there, and I wasn't going back to oil and gas, and so I started apartment hunting. And when I found the one that I knew for sure was where God wanted me to be, I knew for sure without any doubt, I put the application in, and they told me, how much deposit you have to have and all that. Well, I was making not very much money, so you can imagine. And so I got back in my truck, and I just started praying, and I said, okay, Lord, I know this is where You want me. I know they're going to approve my application. I don't have the money for the deposit, and I've got to have it in 3 days. And this was on Friday, I think. And so I just turned it over to God. Well, I went to church that Sunday, and somebody that I knew that did not know anything about what was going on with me handed me an envelope. And when I got back to my truck and I opened it, it was a check for exactly to the penny the amount of the deposit that I needed, which was further confirmation that I was in the right place. Where God guides, He does always provide. But here's the thing: if you walk with God, that person that I knew walked very closely with God and listened to God and obeyed no matter what God said. If God said go stand on your head in the middle of the street, he would have done it. We have to obey immediately and exactly what the Lord tells us to do. This water walk that I was on this last year, I almost became homeless in April of 2010. I was within 2 weeks of sleeping in my truck in a parking lot somewhere, literally. And a year and a half before that, the Lord had spoken to me. My work had run out. There was work in other states, but I didn't take it. And my work had run out, and the Lord had spoken to me to move to Texas. I had no idea how I was going to support myself or anything, but I knew it was God, so I did it. And it was 10 days before I even knew what town I was going to live in. And I waited, nothing happened. And no job, no anything, and I watched my savings just dwindle and go away. And by April, I was in bad shape because my income ran out the first week of February. And I got through it, but it was very, very difficult. The Lord did speak to people to give to me, and I got through that town. He sent me a job and all that. And I'm working now. After I came through that time period, when I was thanking God one day, again for bringing me through it and giving me a job when I started to get paid on that job, and I was just thanking God so much for having a paycheck again and praising Him, the Lord spoke to me and He said, I spoke to many people to give to you during that time when everything was so hard that they didn't obey me. Because we don't obey when God tells us to obey, other people suffer. I suffered horribly in that time. I mean, horribly. I would wake up 10, 15 times a night, almost going into a panic attack. And I fought it constantly, day and night. And this went on for, I think, 5 or 6 weeks. And I'm a person of pretty strong faith, and I still fought that. I wasn't afraid of being without food. I was afraid of being without shelter. And I didn't know. I knew I was in the town where I was supposed to be. I knew I was in the exact house where God wanted me to be. But I didn't understand why, the provision wasn't there, and, couldn't pay my rent. And it's very important when the Lord speaks to you that you obey, because if you don't obey, it's not about the ministry or minister God tells you to give to you. You may not even like them. God has spoken to me before to give to people I didn't even like. It's about your obedience. If you don't obey, when it comes to a time when you need something, someone else is not going to obey, because you're sowing that. When you refuse to obey, you are sowing that. And you will reap that when you come to a place where you're going to be in need. And a lot of you are probably sitting there thinking, I'm not going to be in need, my family's wealthy or whatever. Let me tell you something. America's economy is horrible, and it's going to get worse. It is not ever going to recover to be like it was before. As a matter of fact, it's going to go all the way down the tubes, and no one knows for sure when, but it's inevitable. And everyone is going to face the possibility of lack if they don't sow now for that time. You cannot walk out into your yard and pick fruit off a tree you never planted. You can't go out and harvest from a garden that you didn't plant. If you don't plant beforehand for that season, then when you come to that season, you're in lack because you didn't prepare. You didn't do what you were supposed to do. God provided the means. He gives seed to the sower. He gives you seed. You have a place to plant. He'll show you where to plant. But if you don't obey and you don't plant it, if you're sitting there holding your seed, holding on to your seed, oh Lord, I don't want to give up the seed is so wonderful, I want to keep it. Then when it comes to your time where you need to be able to go out and pick something off the vine, it's not going to be there. And the Lord said to me as I was preparing to make this message, He said that in times to come, He's going to speak to many people to give up houses, cars, bank accounts, and more. And He said those who obey, them and their families will not face lack like the others that walk around them. But He said the ones who don't, they're going to lack. But He's speaking even now to many of us to give. He's been speaking to my heart lately for 2-3 weeks now to take some of the excess that I have. And y'all, I don't really own anything, but I've, nice, decor on my walls or whatever. It's nice to me that I can share with someone who has less. And He's been speaking to my heart to do that, to share from my excess and plant that to people who may not even have what I have. And I've begun obeying that. And if He's speaking to your heart to do that, do it. Because none of us know where the natural disasters and the things that are coming are going to happen. And it could be that your whole house is going to be wiped out next week and everything you own in it. If He's speaking to you to give, He's giving you a chance to plant some of that stuff. Instead of just losing it outright. God can always see down the road from us. We can't. And when He speaks to you to give, He's not trying to take something from you. What He's doing is He's looking down the road and saying, oh, my child's going to need that down the road. I'll have them plant a seed now because this child's in need. And then when they get down here, they'll have a harvest. He's looking down the road from you. And He can see a time in the future when you are going to be in need. But if you don't plant now, then He can't help you when you get to that place because there's no seed. Remember the parable of the talents? Remember the servants who took the talents and increased them? Remember the 1 talent guy, the guy that just had 1 talent, he buried it and just did nothing with it? If you don't plant seed when it's time for you to plant it, you're like the guy with 1 talent. And you have nothing to hold up before the Lord. And that's what the Lord showed me about it. You can't harvest what you don't plant. And I know that there are some of you, because the Lord is showing me right now, there are some of you that are listening to this message that are already saying in your heart, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. It's up to you if you do it or you don't. The Lord is trying to get a message to you to help you. He doesn't, He doesn't need your seed. You need your seed. What you do with it is up to you. But I just wanted to pass that on to you guys because we don't know what's coming. We've seen little pieces of it, some of us, and it's not good. What we've seen is not good. It's not positive. And I'm not trying to alarm anybody or get you into fear. I'm just saying that the Lord, in His mercy, is trying to prepare us. He is trying to get us ready for what He already knows is coming. And if we obey, then we're going to be sitting in a place where we can be blessed. And if we do not obey, we're not going to be in a place where we can be blessed. And I personally am going to try everything I can to obey every single time He tells me to give. I'm going to try to obey and obey immediately and give that or even give more wherever He tells me to plant it. And sometimes God will tell you strange places to, plant stuff, but He knows what we don't know. And He knows what you're going to need later. So I just wanted to share this message with you guys because we go through seasons. And if you want to go into, if you want to walk into a season of abundance and a season of harvest, you first have to go through a season of planting. God bless you.